when you start by just covering your face up and then it goes and morphs into full-on makeup look? Because that's just what happened. Hi guys, welcome to Knitting Noodles. And in today's video, I am going to show you how to increase and decrease stitches. There are many different ways how to increase and decrease stitches. I'm going to show you the most common. I'm going to show you two different types of increases. They are knitting into the front and back of a stitch. It's one way to increase. Or make one stitch. I'm going to show you how to do both in the project that we're doing. I'm also going to show you decreases. Now, the most common way how to decrease is to knit two stitches together. Just knit two stitches as if they are one. So today I'm going to show you how to do both of these in a really cute heart project. So let's get over to the desk and I will show you how to make these super duper cute little hearts. Alright guys, so for this project, what we're going to need is yarn. I am using, I believe this is a size 5. It's a little bit bulkier weight. It's a lot thicker than, say, this one, which I want to say is lightweight. This is probably the worst yarn ever made. I don't even pull that hard, and it breaks. Using this is a misery. Never going to use this again. Just for you guys. So I'm going to use this yarn instead. I'm using a size 5. Use whatever size you have. And then I am going to use a size 7 needle. Let's see, where does it say the size on here? Oh, I got a pair that didn't say. No, it says right here. Size, a US size 7 or a 4.5 millimeter. I am just using that because I am using bulkier weight. If you're using, say, a weight 4 yarn, I would use a 6. Basically, the yarn that you use, the same thing, you want to go down a step for this, just so it's a little bit tighter. Now, if you don't mind a lacy heart, then it's fine if you use bigger needles, but if you want a nice tight heart, then you're going to want to use a step down needle size. What I mean by step down needle size, you'll see on the label when you first get the yarn, it'll say the weight, it'll usually say a number on there, and then it'll tell you in another part what size needle to use with it. So you look at that size needle and you go one step down. So if it says a US 6, use a US 5. If it says a US 7, use a US 6. So me, I have a weight 5, so I'm using size 7 needles. You're going to need a pair of scissors, and you're going to need a yarn needle. It's a very simple project, and this is really all you're going to need for it. Alright, so let's get into casting off and going through this pattern. I forgot, for this project, you're also most definitely going to need a pen and a piece of paper. Put that to the side because we are working on a very structured pattern. So unlike the others where we just measured until we got the right size, for these, to get the right shape, you really do have to follow the number of rows. So you are most definitely going to need to actually keep track. Alright, spare one. So we're gonna take our yarn, and in your preferred cast on method, if you need to review how to cast on, up top. Alright, this is just the way that I prefer to cast on. It's called the German long tail. You're going to cast on 2 stitches. It's 2 stitches. I just like this way because it makes the end look a little nicer. And I learned it, and now I can't stop using it because it just works for everything for me. But if you don't know how to do that, that's fine. Whatever you want to use to cast on, just put 2 stitches on. Now, for your first row, we're going to knit. So just straight up knit both stitches. I'm using the right tail. All right, and then mark that as row 1. Row 2, we're immediately getting into increases. What we're gonna do is, for the first increase, we are going to knit into the front and back of the stitch. It is written in patterns like this. So if you see that on a page, you know it means to knit into the front and back of a stitch, which is an increase. So we're gonna start off like we're knitting a regular stitch. Knit. Now, instead of taking this off the needle, we're going to go back into that same stitch, but instead of going through the front loop again, if you turn it, you see there's a back loop. We're gonna go into the back side, so through the middle of the loop and around the back, and we're going to knit that stitch. Now we take it off. So instead of 1 stitch, we now have 2 stitches. Now we're gonna repeat this on the other stitch. So you're gonna knit through the front loop, you're gonna go around and back into the back loop, and you're gonna knit that. So after those 2 knitting into the front and back, you should now have 4 stitches on your needle. So 4 stitches on your needle, we'll mark that, that's row 2. We're now gonna spend the next 2 rows knitting. So we're gonna knit row 3 and knit row 4. Okay, we knit 2 rows. Let me mark that one. It's 4. Knit 2 rows. We still have 4 stitches on our needle. The next thing that we are going to do is, for the next row, we're not gonna do any more knitting into the front and back. What we're now gonna do is we're gonna make a stitch, which is the other type of increase. So we're gonna knit the first stitch normally, take it off the needle, and now we're going to make a stitch. So if you look in between the stitches, there's this little straight connector between them. We're gonna go into that straight connector with our left needle. So I like to bring it to the front and through. So again, if you pull the stitches apart, you'll see a straight piece connecting the 2 stitches together. You're gonna go into that straight piece through the front to the back. Now, if you knit into the front like a normal stitch, it is gonna leave a gap. So either you could go from the back and up, and then you would knit the front. It's a little harder. I think it's easier to go through the front, and then you knit through the back loop. So you have it like this, it'll be open, it'll look like a little hole through it, and to stop there from being a hole, you want to knit through that back loop. And so there. Now there's a stitch that wasn't there before. Now we're gonna knit the other stitches until there's 1 stitch left. One stitch left, and we're gonna do the same thing. This little straight connector piece, you're gonna come to the front, scoop it up, knit through that back loop, like so, and then knit. Now we should have 6 stitches on our needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 stitches. Let's mark that. was number 5. Now you are going to knit 2 rows again. So rows 6 and 7 are going to be knit again. Alright, we knit 2 rows. We should be at 7 rows now. Should still have those 6 stitches. And once again, we're going to knit the first and last stitch and make a stitch right before and after. So first we're going to knit. We're going to make a stitch right after that first stitch. So through the front of that connecting loop or connecting straight piece, through the back loop, we're going to knit it. Then we are going to knit until we have 1 stitch left on our needle. All right, we have 1 stitch left. We're going to go from the front through that straight connector piece, and we're gonna knit through the back loop. Knit through the back loop, and then we knit that last stitch. And that was row 8. Now for the next 6 rows, we are going to just knit. So from row 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Come back at row 14, and then we're gonna do it again. So 6 rows of just knitting. Okay, we are at 14 rows, which means we just knit 6 rows of just knitting. Just double check that you still have 8 stitches on your needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, we still got all of our stitches. Next thing that we need to do is do another row of increases. So the same thing that we have been doing. We're going to knit 1, make 1, we're gonna knit to that last stitch, last stitch. We're gonna go from the front, pick up that straight connector piece, through the back loop, we're going to knit it. As you can see, it basically closes the loop, so there's no hole that's gonna be there. I'll show you what it looks like if you don't do that. So let's say you just take it like this and you forget and you just knit it regular. It's gonna look like this, and as you keep knitting, it's gonna look like a hole in your piece, which sometimes you do want that, maybe if you're making a buttonhole or something. But for this, we want this increase to be as close to invisible as we can make it. So we're going to knit through that back loop so it's invisible. Knit that last stitch, and now you should have 10 stitches on your needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches. So that was row 15. Row 16, 17, and 18 are all going to be knit. So next 3 rows, knit. Okay, that was 3 rows. We're now on row 18. So the next thing you're gonna do is another increase row. We're gonna keep doing these increase rows until we have 14 stitches. So, same thing that we've been doing. Another increase, picking up that stitch. This is making a stitch. Knit through the back loop. And knit to the last stitch. All right, last stitch. Then we're going to take that connector straight piece. We're gonna go from the front through there, and we're going to knit through the back loop. And we made another stitch. Knit that, and now we should have 12 stitches on our needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hi! And that was row 14. 12 stitches. This was row 19. Right? Am I counting wrong? No, 19. So now for the next 2 rows, you're going to knit. So for row 20 and 21, it's just knitting. Okay, that's 2 rows that were just knit. Now we are going to do another increase. So this is the last increase that we're gonna do. So after this, we should have 14 stitches. So knit 1, make 1, this one's gonna be a little difficult. There we go. It's a little tight. Knit to the last stitch. Alright, last stitch. Now we're gonna take that in-between piece. For some reason it's down here. Scoop that up through the back loop, knit, and then knit that last stitch. Now we should have 14 stitches on our needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now for the next 2 rows, we are going to knit. So row 23 and row 24, we are just knitting. Okay, that was 24 rows. Now we are going to split this because that was just working on the body. We're going to start a new count for working on the top. You might be wondering, how are we going to make the little loops at the top if we only have these 2 needles and we can only work back and forth? Now I'll show you the answer for that, which is working one side at a time. So the first thing we're gonna do, making the first part of the heart, is we're going to knit 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are now going to wrap and turn. Wrap and turn just means you're going to take the tail, and you know how it's normally in the back? We're actually going to bring it through the needles to the front. We are then going to switch our hands around, and we're not going to knit the rest of the 7 stitches. Those are just going to stay on the needle. So instead of continuing work across the row, we're going to flip it around and we're going to knit back. So we're going to start by knitting to the last 2 stitches, which is 5 stitches. Knit 5 stitches. Now there should be 2 stitches left here. Now I previously showed you how to knit 2 stitches together in my how to fix common knitting problems video up there, if you want to review how to knit 2 stitches together, or I'll just show you again briefly here. It's very simple. All you do is you treat these 2 stitches as if they were 1 stitch. So you're going to take the needle, you're going to put it through both as if they were 1 stitch and not 2, and then you're going to knit them as if they were 1 stitch. And you're going to turn around and you're going to do another knit 2 stitches together. So you're going to take those first 2 stitches, you're going to go in treating them as 1, knit those 2 together off the needle, and you're going to knit 2 stitches. 1, 2 stitches, and those last 2 stitches, you can see there's a gap now between the stitches that we left on the needle and the ones that we worked back and forth. So that'll help you know where we stopped. Alternatively, you could also take a piece of scrap yarn or a twisty tie if you had it. There are special markers for knitting that you can buy. Honestly, don't waste your money. You don't really need them. But if you really can't tell with the gap, tie something to remind yourself. Alright, so we knit 2 together, we knit 2. We're going to take those last 2 stitches, not in camera, last 2 stitches, and we're going to knit those 2 together. Ooh, these are a little tight. There we go. Knit those 2 together. Then we're going to turn again. Take the yarn, move it to the back. Now for this row, we are just going to knit. So just knit. And now this is going to be the last row. We have 4 stitches. We're going to knit 2 together twice. So knit 2 together, and then again knit 2 together. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a cast on. Normally you turn it around and knit, but because there's already 2 on the needle, we're just gonna cast off right after we knit the 2 stitches together. So like that. Pull a little snug. We're gonna take our scissors, we're gonna snip the yarn, and we're gonna pass it through that loop. And look at that, we have one side of our heart finished. Now you might be wondering, how do I do that on this side? It's actually very easy. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take your yarn, just like this. You're not gonna tie anything. You could tie something if you really wanted to, but really, you don't have to. You're just gonna take it like that, drape it over your needle, and just pull it through for the first stitch. Now, if you really can't keep track of it, that there's 2 here, and you accidentally pull it and it comes through like that, you can go ahead and tie it. Either tie it, say, to itself, or I'll show you. Let's knit the first one like I showed you. We'll knit the second one. Make sure you're using the right tail that's still attached to the ball of yarn. Now take the one that you just did. Wasn't passed through all the way. It's okay. Take the one that you just did, which you can see is this one, and you can tie it, not too tightly. You don't want it too tight, just so that you don't pull the yarn out. Tie it right there. That way when you pull, it doesn't accidentally come out. And that's actually bothering me. There we go. I fixed it. You don't have to fix it. It was bothering me. Now you are going to knit all the way to the end of the row. Make sure you're using that long tail that's still attached to the ball of yarn. Give it a tug before you start knitting to make sure it's attached. All right, knit all the way to the end, and now we're going to turn it around, and we're going to knit 2 stitches together. Two stitches together, then we're going to knit all the way to the end, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. Five stitches. Turn it back around, and now we're going to knit 2 stitches together. Knit 2 stitches, knit those last 2 stitches together. Alright, we should have 4 stitches on our needle. We are then going to just knit. So just knit all the way to the end, those 4 stitches. Then we are going to turn this around, and we're going to knit 2 together twice. So those 2 stitches, treat them as 1, knit 2 together, and again, knit 2 together. Now you should have 2 stitches on your needle, and you're just gonna go ahead and bring that last stitch over the first one, pull it a little bit snug, clip the yarn, and pass it through the loop. Alright, there we go. We have both of our heart sides done. Now the only thing left to do is to weave in our ends. And there we have it. A nice, shiny little heart. You might have to shape it a little bit, stretch it out a bit. It's alright. Look how cute this is. And then you can have a little collection going of all your different yarns. You could either make this as decoration on something. Let's say you make another purse and you want little hearts on it. You can make these, sew it on. Like I said, you could take little pieces, let's say like this. I'll give you an example. You could string them up like decorations. If you go through that middle piece, like there, and then you tie it, and then you could hang it up like that. Maybe if it's close to like Valentine's Day, Christmas, and you want a homemade decoration. These are super cute, and it's a great way to use extra scrap yarn that you don't have enough for a actual project. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I would love to see your little hearts. Send me an email with a picture, and comment how you did with your little hearts. I'd love to hear from you all. Happy knitting, and I will see you all next week. Bye!